If you are watching this video, it is not by accident. At a certain level of awareness, people do not randomly stumble upon information. They are pulled toward it, and if you listen closely, without defending yourself internally, you may notice something uncomfortable, the quiet realization that the normal path was never truly designed for you. From an early age, we are trained to follow, to wait, to ask for permission, permission to speak, permission to fail, permission to succeed. Yet some people feel very early on that something is wrong. They learn quickly, they think independently, they connect patterns without guidance. And these are exactly the people the system tries to correct, slow down, or push back into line. Why? Because the system does not fear ignorance, it fears autonomy. Machiavelli understood this more than 500 years ago. The real threat to any power structure is not open rebellion, but the individual who no longer needs the system to think, decide, or act. The self-directed individual is not dangerous because he knows more. He is dangerous because he is less dependent. Let me ask you an uncomfortable question right now. What if much of what you were taught was never meant to make you free, but merely functional? Functional enough to work, functional enough to obey, functional enough to remain predictable. Modern society does not shape sovereign minds. It produces efficient operators, people who function inside frameworks designed by others. Machiavelli wrote, in essence, that whoever controls the rules of the game does not need to control every player. It is enough that players believe those rules are natural, fair, and permanent. That is exactly what happens. You are not forbidden from thinking. You are taught how to think. You are not prevented from learning. You are told what is worth learning. The self-taught mind begins where this illusion cracks. It does not ask, what is the correct answer? It asks, what actually works in reality? That difference is subtle, and it changes everything. The system respects process. The self-directed individual respects results. Machiavelli knew that the world is ruled not by intentions, but by consequences. Those who focus on appearing virtuous rather than being effective are overtaken by those who act. The self-taught individual learns this early. He watches behavior instead of listening to words. He studies outcomes, not applause. He experiments, fails, adapts, and in doing so, he discovers something deeply unsettling. Official rules rarely determine real outcomes. Promotions do not always go to the most competent. Power does not always belong to the most intelligent. Recognition does not always reward true value. Machiavelli described this as the difference between displayed virtue and effective virtue. The system rewards displayed virtue. The self-directed mind seeks effective virtue. This is where conflict begins, because those who teach themselves develop a direct relationship with reality. They cannot be fully conditioned by abstractions, and conditioning is the foundation of every stable system. The system does not openly hate the self-taught individual at first. It underestimates him, labels him unstable, unconventional, unqualified. Then come the tags: unreliable, uncertified, overconfident, difficult. These words do not describe reality. They protect structure. Machiavelli understood that discrediting is often more effective than censorship. A discredited idea dies quietly because no one defends it openly. Many self-directed individuals stop here, not because they fail, but because they still seek validation. They want to be understood by a system that has no incentive to understand them. But those who continue cross an invisible threshold. They stop seeking approval. They begin trusting their results. And results change posture. When you build something without permission, without credentials, without institutional blessing, something irreversible happens. You realize authority is not sacred, that it is contextual and often inherited, not earned. Machiavelli wrote that people respect perceived strength more than legitimacy, and the most disturbing form of strength is the kind that asks for nothing. The self-directed individual becomes unpredictable. He does not wait for signals. He does not wait for approval. He does not wait for permission. And this is precisely why the system begins to fear him. Not openly, not aggressively, but subtly. In the next part, we will examine how that fear turns into psychological pressure, how the system attempts to slow, absorb, or discourage autonomy, and where the real game begins. The moment you stop depending on the system for identity, something subtle but powerful shifts. You no longer introduce yourself through titles. You no longer explain your worth through credentials. You no longer wait for external confirmation to feel legitimate. And this is where the next invisible battlefield appears. Because power is not only about what you do, it is about how you are perceived. Machiavelli understood that perception often outweighs truth. People do not respond to reality as it is, but to reality as it appears to them. This is why appearance is never superficial. It is strategic. The system teaches you that humility is virtue, that modesty is moral, that blending in is safe. But Machiavelli warned that excessive humility invites domination. When you look weak, you are treated as weak. When you look uncertain, others decide for you. When you look poor in posture, speech, or presence, you are priced accordingly. This has nothing to do with money. Poverty is not merely a lack of resources, it is a signal. And signals are constantly being read. Long before someone hears your ideas, they assess your confidence. Before they consider your intelligence, they measure your self-respect. Before they listen, they judge your position. Machiavelli wrote that men are quicker to forget the death of a father than the loss of property. What he truly meant is that people respond instinctively to status and security. Security communicates power. Insecurity invites control. The system benefits from teaching you that appearance is shallow, because once you reject appearance, you surrender one of the most effective tools of influence. Those who understand power never ignore optics. They curate them. This is why elites dress with intention, speak with economy, and move without apology. It is not vanity, it is positioning. A self-directed individual who ignores this lesson remains vulnerable, because even when you are capable, even when you are skilled, the world does not reward hidden strength. It rewards visible strength. Machiavelli observed that people judge with their eyes more than with their hands. Everyone can see appearance, but few can verify substance. And so, appearance becomes the shortcut. This is where many intelligent, self-taught individuals sabotage themselves. They reject presentation out of principle. They dismiss signaling as manipulation. They believe that truth will eventually speak for itself. It rarely does. Truth without framing is easily ignored. Power without visibility is easily bypassed. The system relies on this naivete. It convinces you that authenticity means exposure, that humility means self-erasure, that honesty requires transparency. But Machiavelli was clear. Transparency is a luxury of the powerful, not a strategy for becoming powerful. Those without power who reveal everything give others leverage. Those without power who look uncertain invite instruction. This is why you must never look poor, even when resources are limited. Looking poor means signaling need. Need creates dependency. Dependency invites domination. Looking composed, intentional, and self-contained signals autonomy. And autonomy disrupts hierarchies. Notice how people treat those who appear self-assured. They listen more carefully. They hesitate before interrupting. They assume competence before evidence. This is not fairness. It is human psychology. Machiavelli did not criticize human nature. He studied it. He knew that people do not follow the best leader. They follow the one who appears most capable of protecting them. Protection can be emotional, financial, or symbolic, but it must be felt. This is why the system quietly discourages you from cultivating presence. It tells you to wait your turn, to earn confidence after approval, to prove yourself endlessly. But confidence is not a reward. It is a signal you choose to emit, and those who emit it early shape the room. This does not mean arrogance. Arrogance is insecurity seeking compensation. It leaks. True presence is calm, measured, unrushed. It communicates that you do not need to rush because you are not desperate. Machiavelli wrote that haste often reveals fear, and fear, once detected, becomes an opening. The self-directed individual who understands this begins to master restraint. He speaks less, but with weight. He moves deliberately. He avoids unnecessary explanation. Explanation is often submission disguised as politeness. Those who explain too much seek permission to exist. Those who state and pause force others to adjust. This is where power quietly accumulates, not through aggression, not through domination, but through control of pace and perception. The system dislikes this because it cannot easily measure it. It cannot certify it. It cannot regulate it. So it attempts to neutralize it. It labels presence as ego, restraint as coldness, self-respect as arrogance. But these labels only work on those who still crave approval. The moment you detach from that need, the system loses leverage. In the next part, we will explore how independence threatens institutional control, how subtle punishments are applied to those who do not conform, and how Machiavelli's insights reveal the hidden rules for surviving and advancing without becoming visible targets. Once you stop signaling weakness, the system responds. Not immediately, not openly, but predictably. Machiavelli warned that those who introduce new orders are met with enemies from those who benefited from the old ones, and lukewarm defenders from those who might benefit from the new. This is the invisible pressure applied to independent thinkers. The moment you stop fitting cleanly into predefined categories, you become difficult to manage. The moment your progress cannot be explained by official pathways, you become inconvenient. The moment your confidence no longer depends on approval, you become uncontrollable. And the system does not attack uncontrollable elements directly. It isolates them. Isolation is the most sophisticated form of discipline. First, recognition quietly disappears. Opportunities stop arriving without explanation. Conversations become shorter. Doors remain polite, but closed. This is not coincidence. This is calibration. Institutions are not emotional, but they are strategic. They reward compliance and discourage deviation, not through force, but through incentives and silence. Machiavelli understood that power rarely needs cruelty when neglect suffices. People will endure humiliation longer than invisibility, but invisibility breaks momentum. This is where many retreat. They interpret resistance as personal failure. They internalize exclusion as incompetence. They return to conformity for relief. But the self-directed individual must recognize this moment for what it is, a test of independence. The system is asking one question: will you self-correct? If you do, control is restored. If you do not, escalation begins. And escalation is subtle. Labels appear. You are difficult, uncooperative, not a good cultural fit. None of these accuse skill. They accuse alignment. Machiavelli noted that accusations without specifics are the safest form of attack. They damage reputation while avoiding accountability. Once labeled, perception shifts. Others hesitate to associate. Risk is reassigned to you. This is how hierarchy protects itself, not by crushing challengers, but by making association with them costly. The independent thinker must anticipate this phase, because reacting emotionally is exactly what the system expects. Defensiveness confirms the label. Anger justifies exclusion. Desperation invites exploitation. Power responds not with reaction, but with positioning. This is where Machiavelli's principles become essential. He advised rulers to avoid becoming hated, but also to avoid becoming irrelevant. The balance lies in selective visibility. The self-directed individual must do the same. You do not confront institutions head-on. You do not publicly declare rebellion. You do not announce independence. You outgrow dependency quietly. You build parallel value. You develop skills that function outside official channels. You cultivate networks not bound by hierarchy. You stop asking permission without announcing it. Machiavelli wrote that the wise ruler prepares defenses during peace. Likewise, the wise individual prepares autonomy while still inside the system. This is where strategy replaces ideology. You no longer argue about fairness. You stop trying to reform structures that benefit from inertia. You invest energy where leverage exists. Leverage is created by options. The moment you have options, pressure decreases. When income does not rely on one authority, fear dissolves. When reputation exists beyond one institution, labels lose power. When competence is transferable, exclusion becomes irrelevant. This is why the system resists self-education, not because learning is dangerous, but because independent learning creates portability. Portability dissolves captivity. A person with portable value cannot be easily punished. A person without options can be disciplined indefinitely. Machiavelli believed mercenaries were dangerous because they served whoever paid them. The modern system reverses this logic. It fears individuals who cannot be owned. So it discourages self-directed mastery. It promotes specialization without sovereignty, credentials without leverage, knowledge without application. Because knowledge that cannot move is harmless. The independent thinker does the opposite. He converts knowledge into execution, execution into results, results into autonomy. And he does this without noise. Visibility invites resistance. Silence preserves flexibility. This is why true power often appears invisible until it is unavoidable. Machiavelli observed that sudden strength shocks opponents more than gradual displays. Surprise favors the prepared. While others seek validation, the independent thinker builds quietly. While others chase status, he secures leverage. While others debate ideology, he acquires capability. Eventually, the system notices, but too late. At that stage, attempts to control shift to attempts to recruit. What was once dismissed becomes desirable. What was labeled risky becomes innovative. What was excluded becomes sought after. This is not redemption, it is recalculation. Institutions do not apologize, they adapt. And the individual who understands this does not seek revenge. He negotiates from strength. Machiavelli wrote that the wise ruler chooses alliances based on advantage, not gratitude. The same applies here. You do not owe loyalty to structures that would have discarded you without hesitation. You owe loyalty to your own trajectory. In the final part, we will confront the most dangerous illusion of all, the belief that freedom is external. We will explore internal sovereignty, the psychological independence Machiavelli believed was the foundation of all power, and the final transformation that separates those who merely escape the system from those who truly transcend it. At a certain stage, something becomes clear. The system is no longer the main obstacle. You are. Not in the way you might expect, because once you gain options, skills, leverage, and independence from approval, the external barriers begin to lose relevance. But a more subtle challenge appears: internal authority. Machiavelli understood that ruling others is impossible without first ruling oneself. And many who escape external control never complete this final transition. They leave the system, but carry it inside them. They still seek validation. They still measure themselves through comparison. They still react emotionally to disrespect. This is not freedom. It is relocation. True power begins when your identity no longer negotiates with the outside world. Internal sovereignty is the ability to act without applause, to decide without reassurance, and to remain grounded without external structure. Most people confuse freedom with the absence of rules, but Machiavelli knew better. Freedom without discipline collapses into chaos. The system trains obedience through structure. When you leave it, you must replace that structure internally, or you drift. This is where most fail. They reject authority, but do not develop self-command. They abandon rules, but do not create principles. They gain independence, but lose direction. Machiavelli warned that men who are unrestrained become dangerous to others and to themselves. The self-directed individual must therefore become his own ruler. This means setting standards higher than any institution ever did. It means holding yourself accountable when no one is watching. It means refusing emotional indulgence disguised as authenticity. Power does not come from doing whatever you want. It comes from doing what aligns with your long-term positioning, regardless of impulse. This is the final separation between those who merely reject the system and those who surpass it. The latter do not define themselves by opposition. They define themselves by coherence. They do not need rebellion to feel alive. They do not need enemies to feel strong. They do not need attention to feel significant. They operate from internal alignment. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors those who adapt their nature to the times. Adaptation requires emotional control, not rigidity. This is why emotional discipline is the highest form of intelligence. Those who react can be steered. Those who remain centered cannot be predicted. Predictability is vulnerability. The system thrives on predictability. It categorizes, forecasts, and manages behavior. The individual who masters himself becomes strategically unreadable, not chaotic, not erratic, but calm, deliberate, and selective. This presence alone shifts dynamics. People feel it before they understand it. They adjust tone. They reconsider tactics because they sense something ungraspable, autonomy. Machiavelli believed fear was a more reliable tool than love, but internal mastery removes the need for either. Respect emerges naturally from consistency. This is why the truly powerful rarely announce themselves. They do not need to prove anything. They move quietly. They speak with restraint. They choose their battles carefully. They understand that exposure is a tax, that visibility invites friction, that silence preserves leverage. And when they do act, it is decisive. No explanation, no justification, no apology. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. The system cannot dominate clarity. It cannot shame discipline. It cannot control someone who no longer negotiates his worth. At this point, the system's only option is adaptation. It either aligns with you or steps aside. This is the endgame. Machiavelli understood not domination over others, but independence from manipulation, not conquest, but sovereignty. If you have followed this entire analysis, something has already shifted. Your thinking has slowed, but deepened. Your perception has sharpened. Your tolerance for illusion has weakened. That is not coincidence. That is awareness emerging. Now let me ask you something. If this perspective challenged you, support this video with a like, not casually, but consciously. It helps this message reach others who are ready for it. Subscribe if you want continued content on power, psychology, and strategy without comfort narratives or motivational fantasy. And do one final thing. Share this video with one person, not everyone, one. Someone who thinks deeply, someone who feels constrained by invisible rules, someone who may need this lens now. Ideas like this do not spread through algorithms alone. They spread through trust. Leave a comment with the moment that resonated most with you, not for engagement, but so others can recognize themselves in your insight. Remember this: the system does not fear intelligence. It fears individuals who no longer need its permission. And if you are here, you are already further than most.